I'm gonna,
Good.
Yeah, well, this is good, but you're listening as well.
Oh, no, I was not gonna give you.
okay, so, first of all, we're gonna talk about what Skyslope is. Most of you know, but it's our transaction management system. As soon as you start at the company, you should have gotten a invitation email to Skyslope. Your username is always your email address, and then it sends you. In the event you forget your password or you've forgotten your password, you can say forgot password and it will email you to your email address a reset for your password. And if for some reason that doesn't work, you can always contact me and I can reset it for you manually. You can also go to where it says your name there and your account. And if you see here, personal information, you have all of your personal information in this section here. And then if you go to notifications, the next section over, let's go back to personal information. I'll show you one more thing here. So under personal information, you see here where it says Gina Burke at skyslope.com. Yours is going to say your name is skyslope.com. And when you go in, what that does, that's your own personal email for Skyslope. If you have documents that you want to go into Skyslope that are not attached with a specific transaction, you can just email them to that email address. So if you scan documents like an AREC you get from a client, or if you have an offer going out, but it's not signed yet, so you don't want to create a transaction, but you need to keep the documents, you can send it to your name at skyslope.com, and it's going to go into working documents section of Skyslope. And we're going to go through that a little bit later, but I wanted to tell you, you have your own email address to send things to into Skyslope. You can always use, okay? Next, under notifications, the notifications, you can set these up for to kind of help you with if you want to set up, if you want to know about your listings when the closing date comes. So essentially all of these. So for listing notifications, you can set it up to email you a certain number of days before a listing expires. So if you want to do that, you can set that up. You can say 5 days before my listing expires, please send me an email so you know, and you can go to your client and you can update your listing. You can say email me if the listing passes the expiration date. Email me if the list date or expiration date changes. Email me if the listing price changes. So you can put all of that in there to notify you through Skyslope if you choose. For your transactions, you can have it notify you so many days before the transaction close date. Maybe you check to see where you are. It just kind of reminds you to check where you are in the transaction. So like if you know you need to do an extension, or maybe a few days before closing, it reminds you I need to go get a closing gift for them, or whatever the case may be. But you can use these notifications to help you. Again, it's kind of the same thing. Let you know if it passes a closing date, let you know if the acceptance date changes, and if the price changes. Email tasks. So this one is if you want to set up tasks for yourself, which task and reminders, which I actually really like through Skyslope, you need to have these toggled on. So email me if I'm assigned a task. So say you have an assistant or someone, or maybe you're working with another licensee in our office, or you have another licensee that you work with from time to time. You can set up tasks for them. So say like you have another licensee that you work with, and you guys share files when you go in and out of vacation or something like that. You can turn this on. You can email me if I'm assigned a task. So Sherry Boyd can set up a task for Sherry Marston to do for her client, or just remind her when she's out of town. She can set it up before she goes out of town. You can set up the date, the time, the whole 9 yards. And then Sherry's going to get an email of that task. Now, when it's a task, Sherry has to say, I accept that task. So then Sherry Boyd knows that you got it and you're on it, you're going to take care of the task, vice versa. So it's a good way to kind of keep track of your transaction and help that. The other thing you can do if you're sharing a transaction between two licensees is you can add that licensee as your listing licensee number 2. So it doesn't, Skyslope is not connected to MLS. Some people have a hard time getting that out of their mind. In the aspect of listing licensee 1 and listing licensee 2. So you don't have to be sharing a listing in MLS to share a transaction in Skyslope. Or share a transaction in MLS to share a transaction in Skyslope. Does that make sense? So you also can, if you choose, some people want to do this, some people do not want to do this. But if you want to say Maver and Christy, both of you, one has the listing, one has the buyer. If you choose, Christy, you're going to be, if you're the listing licensee, you set the transaction up to start with. So then when you get under contract with Maver, you can, when you start to turn it into a transaction, when you hit that button to say accepted contract, you turn into a transaction, you could add Maver as the listing licensee 2, and then you essentially share the file. So therefore, you don't both have to put in separate transactions. You can do that. The caveat to that you need to understand is that all the documents that go in there are also shared. So so if you put notes in there, most people don't, most people just put the meat bones of what needs to be done in there. And most of the time it's not things that you're not already sharing anyway. So, and if you have something for, say you want to do that, but then there's a couple of documents that you want for that person that you don't necessarily want to share in the transaction in the beginning, you can also fill out a folder in your working documents for that particular client to put things in there that stay completely private. Not even, I can't even see those. Like that's totally private from admin as well. And we're going to go through that as well. But I want to kind of tell you some things you can do, and then we're going to show you how you do it.
So I currently get emailed when we get closer to like the listing expiring or closing.
Yep.
So,
You must have that toggled on.
so the company doesn't have it,
No,
so I must have it on.
you
I
must have
don't
it on.
remember setting it, so.
You know, it could have, I can't remember, it may go like a default, like 5 days, you know, in the very beginning for everybody.
But it's
That's
not.
possible.
The company is not notified.
We're not, no,
Okay, got it.
no, we're not changing anything in there. It would be a default setup in Skyslope from the very, very beginning. Any other questions on this page? Okay.
I've never set my stuff up in here. I don't think either, maybe like Sherry, I just remember, but
Yeah,
now I can go through and get less emails that I don't really need.
Correct.
like,
Absolutely.
so,
yeah, if you can turn the things off you don't want.
yeah, no.
Yep. So the next section is signature. So you can add your signature in here as well. So then it goes at the bottom of all your emails. So you know you can email directly from Skyslope. Your buyer, other licensee, the lender, anyone. You can send documents to them all straight from your documents tab. So it's kind of nice to go ahead and have your signature in there as well. And so this is where you set that up.
So if we, like in one of them, I just use like a business card, like digital business card, they
Yep.
set up on, can we just pull that in
Yep.
here?
Yep, you should be able to. It should be no different there. Yeah, see, where's attachment? There's attachment in here. I don't necessarily see attachment, so I'm not 100% sure you can do that. I would try and see if you can just drag it in there and what'll happen. I haven't tried that. If you hit edit. Yeah, I'm not positive on that, Laney, but I would try it and it'll work or it won't work.
You can drag in.
I'll just drag, you can drag it in?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Very well.
So
Okay.
thanks, Janelle.
Yep.
Any questions about that? No. Okay. Next, change password. So this is where you can go in and you can change your password. So if you have a password, like maybe it set up a password for you that you'll never remember, you don't like, or you just want to change it for one reason or another, you can, put in your old, put in your new, confirm, and save. So you can change your password whenever you want in Skyslope right here. And again, where did I go to get to the screen? Does everybody remember? Your name and my account. Yep. Yep. So here and then my account. And the very first page, it goes to personal information, and I'm just toggling across the line here. Another thing that a lot of people don't know is directory. So everyone that you put in Skyslope will go into your directory. And that's where it comes in, and you know that when you start to type in their name and DigiSign or wherever, it auto-populates. Well, it's coming from your directory. So if you want to put in multiple contacts for someone, you want to put in all the licensees at Jack White, or you want to put in whatever you want to put in, the realtors you work with the most, or whatever you want to do. You can upload multiple contacts into your directory, and then it'll be there for you.
Is that like hand putting them in one by one?
No, I think it's a CSV file.
Okay. It's nice to have that in there because when you're like setting up a transaction, it
Yeah,
just makes it. so much-
Export.
Okay.
Yeah, you're exporting a CSV file.
It makes it so much easier when people are already.
It
in there
does.
And you can just go right through it.
Absolutely. So that's how you can do it. And then if you have contacts, obviously you want to delete, you can delete them. If you want to add them one by one, create contact and do it that way. Oops. So integrations, that's the one, there's not really a whole lot we do in integrations. So that's kind of the Skyslope IPI. So if you were to connect that with something else, which that's something we'll never bother or touch. This is where the updater was, and where you wanted to add the updater app, that was automatically put in that we had taken out for the company. They were supposed to leave this in and have it where you could turn it on if you want, but for some reason they took the whole thing out. So I have to call them and ask them about that. So if updater is something that you want, which remember that was the app that allowed kind of sent an email to a buyer at the end of the transaction saying, do you want to set your utilities up through this program? Do you want to, set up movers or that kind of thing? But instead of just turning it off for everyone, they deleted it from the company, it looks like, which they weren't supposed to do. So I have to call them and figure that out again. So that's kind of the general of that. Does anyone have any questions about that right now? Oh, right. And always you can just click on the logo, the Jack White logo, and it'll always take you back to your page. So the next thing I want to go over is the difference between manage transaction, create transaction, manage listing, create listing. So these are the four, this and DigiSign are the ones you're probably going to be using most of the time. So when you have a buyer, and it's the first time you have a buyer and you have a fully executed contract, we don't want you creating transactions until you have a fully executed contract, but we want you creating the transaction right away when you do have a fully executed contract. So it is the law that the broker reviews every single person's file. So we have to review your file. And company policy is we're supposed to review your file right away as soon as you get it fully executed. It needs to be put in Skyslope.
What about a listing? Like
Thank-
on
Listing,
entering all right away?
yes. We have to review those files.
Well, what about, like, in my case, I had them fill out all their paperwork last week for listing tomorrow. Should I have put it all in last?
No, you can, as soon as the listing goes live, it's fully executed, the date is here, you put it in.
Okay.
And so, we have people all the time to put it in like 2 days before closing. It's not what you're supposed to do. And it really causes problems for yourself because it doesn't
People do that all the time.
all the time. I mean, there's sometimes we get checks and there's no file in Skyslope.
I bet you I know his name. I'm just joking.
And a lot of times if that becomes, more than once kind of thing, they're gonna get a letter from Gabe saying, you're not gonna be covered by E&O insurance if this contract results in a lawsuit.
Okay.
And you're gonna be paying 100% of the damages instead of it being split with the company because you did not abide by the rules.
So you said you get checks and there's no transaction. Are you talking about earnest money?
Commission check,
Huh?
commission check,
Oh.
yeah. It closed, they never put anything in Skyslope. Big ginormous no-no. So we don't like to see those.
And also, I'm sure you'll get to this, but have everything in Skyslope that you're supposed to, because when you get a check, if it's not in there, you're not gonna get paid until it is.
Absolutely. Yep.
I do not know that personally. I'm like,
She does. She does.
I know that.
So again, when you have a buyer and you have a fully executed contract with a buyer, you're gonna be clicking create transaction. When you have a listing, and then you're gonna be creating a listing. And essentially you push that button and you follow directions. It's very, very simple. It's gonna give you the checklist, it's gonna give you everything you need to know. We can, I'm gonna kind of just go through all the systems of Skyslope first, and then I'm gonna, if we have time, we can go in and actually put a transaction in, but it's very self-explanatory when you get in there. So the other thing that a lot of people, I want to make sure people, well, the one thing I do want to do, a couple things, let's just go through. So DigiSign, digital signatures, that is obviously where you go in and digitally have digital signatures done. To do that is very simple. We'll go through one of those as well. Incomplete check. So incomplete checklists are if you have a transaction that you started, but there are items that were incomplete and maybe they closed it or whatever, but there's a couple things that they need, then it's going to show up on the incomplete list. If you have canceled contracts, so if you have a contract and it gets canceled, then it's going to be in this section. When you close every time a transaction is closed and you get your commission check, Cheryl, who reviews all our files, she's going to close it out and she will archive it. And when she archives it, it's going to come off of your list across. So that will go into the archive list. So sometimes when you're looking for that transaction, like, I don't see that transaction, where is it? Go under archives and search there, and most likely that's where it's going to be. Now, a lot of people don't know this, I'll tell you. So say you have a file that's archived and you want to bring it back. So you click on it and you could go here. You could, no. Here's your transaction. You could still go into the checklist and see the checklist. You could also still go into the documents.
It's there for 3 years, right?
And see your documents, yeah. Yeah. So you could still get to every single thing you have, even if it's in the archive list.
I don't
So-
think we can bring it back. Kent isn't only.
No, I can bring it
Yeah.
back, but you can't, yeah, you can't bring it back. But I can if you needed to. But you can also select here. And then you can choose to look at all the documents or just the checklist documents. If you don't want to look at everything all at one time. And then task and reminders. So this is the section that we kind of talked about before, where you can set up a task for someone and you can set up reminders for people as well, which is very, very, I think it's very helpful. So if you have a specific, you can choose like which property you want to set tasks up for. So you can choose the property and then say you have this property. And you go new task. And you can do a task or a reminder. So again, a task, when you set up a task, then the person has to accept the task. So if you're just going to set up a reminder for yourself, like you say, home inspection is needs to be ordered by this specific date. So you would say, you would choose a reminder and you would say, maybe you could say repair amendment. Due for this property. And you can choose a date, which I like to do. So before or after. So you say repair amendment is due on September the 2nd at 12 o'clock. Recipient is yourself. And then you just say sure repair. And then you're going to hit save, and it's going to show up as a reminder for the property. So you also can sync it to your Google Calendar, Outlook, or iCal. So if you choose to sync it to your calendar, it's going to show up on your calendar as well. And so will all your tasks and reminders.
Will it text?
It is not text, it emails. You can also create a list. You can also create, you can make a template and you can import a template in here if it's always the same, if you want to do that. So if you're like, for every listing, I do this or whatever, you can do that as well. But I like the tasks, the reminders. I like to, when I get a contract that's fully executed, to go in here and set up the reminders for all the dates in your contract. And then you don't have to sync it to your calendar. If you don't sync it to your calendar, you're just going to get emails about it. You're going to get emails anyway about it because you just set it up to send it to you for emails. But if you sync it to your calendar, you're going to do both. So it'll show up on your calendar and you're going to get the email. So you can choose what you do, but it's a really nice way to not be thinking all the time, hey, where are we on dates on this? Where am I on dates on that? Especially when you've got several transactions going at the same time. You can set these up and then you don't have to worry about it. You also, like if you're working with somebody else, you can share the list with that person. So you just click share list, you put their email address in and it'll share the list. So again, like if you're going out of town and you have all these dates and you want them to remember, not to forget, you can share the list with them and then they have it, which is kind of nice. So it's a great way to just let the tools work for you. And it doesn't take very long to set it up in the very beginning, but it really helps to have it all set up for you to not have to worry about. And then the last one, working documents. So working documents are where, like when you have something that's DigiSign and you choose no property, once it's signed, it's going to go in this section. It's going to go into working documents. If you send a document to, you send a document over from your email address. So if you forward it to Gina Burke at skyslope.com, it's going to go into working documents. So essentially, if you have a document that you sent to Skyslope or you DigiSigned and you're like, I can't find this document, remember working documents. They're the ones you're working on that helps you remember it.
You can also find it where you do DigiSign and you can look where you sent ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see the both parties signed, you need a reminder, and
Yep.
then you click on that, you can get the document there too.
Yep.
That's right.
That's right, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you can do that. Now, we're gonna go through DigiSign a little bit more as well here in a minute. But I wanted to show you a few things here in working documents. So we have personal documents. So remember when I told you that you could create a folder? So if you have a folder for a certain person, like you say you wanted to share documents with another licensee, but you had a couple of confidential things, like maybe you had the loan payoff sheet that has their social security number on, which I don't usually take, but say that's something that you have. Maybe you don't want to share that with anybody else. So you could add a folder. So you say add folder, name the folder to be John Doe confidential docs, and you hit save. And then now you have a folder. It's empty right now, but if you want to upload the document, you could upload the document, and then you could find the document that you want to put in there. I mean, it could be anything. We'll just say here, open, and it will upload it into this folder. And then now you have this document in this folder.
So if you're working on multiple buyers or something, do you want to set a folder up for each one of them until you get an executed contract, so you have all their information under one place for that each buyer?
You definitely can if you want. Or you can, they're gonna automatically just be in the working documents. So they're gonna automatically be, each document's gonna be in here. So,
But they're not gonna be separated by
correct,
client, so they're just all gonna be mixed together.
they will be, yeah. So, pulling up a folder just for those people, is kind of a good idea to do, and then just put them all in there. And then, so like if you go to the folder, so if you went here, so like rejected offers is also a good place to do this. So like I had, a whole bunch of offers on this property. So I have all of these different rejected offers. And I put rejected, and I put who the licensee was, so I knew who to send it to. So you could just, when you have multiple offers and you have rejected offers, you can put them in here and split them. And then you can just take it like this, and then you go to the top and you say, I want to email it. And so then you would email it to whatever person this is. So and then it's going to have that document that you have here attached, and it'll automatically email them to them straight from Skyslope. Make sense? You can also go into the folder and take, obviously we were just in that folder. So you can go into, let's go back in folder. So you can go in any folder you want, and you can email different things out of it that you want. So here's the John Doe confidential remarks. When you open it, see, it shows the folders open. So you can upload additional documents in there if you want. Also, when you get to this point and you have all of the different documents in here, so you click them all, you can go here and you can assign it to your transaction that you have set up. So once you get the transaction set up, you actually start the transaction. Say you've got, an AREC signed, you've got an offer signed, but you haven't set it up, and you have those 3 documents in that folder. Then you would go and you would assign it, and you would click on the transaction that you have, and you hit assign here, and then it's going to assign all those documents to that transaction. So then you're done. It moves it from the folder into the transaction. Does that make sense? It's kind of an easy way of doing it. But you notice here, there is no ability to email or anything like that up here, or not email, but assign or move or delete or anything up here right now. It only shows up if you select a document. See, it's all up there now. So you can pick any documents that you have in your personal documents section that you have here. You can pick any document you want. You can digi-sign it, you can delete it, you can assign it, and you can move it to trash. Or you can move it to any other folder. I think trash is, I just hit the wrong button. Oh, delete's where it would go to trash. And then you could just email it as well. Now, the next section over says office docs here. These are documents that are in MLS that you can use. So like checklists for Skyslope, so you know what you need for the checklist. So if you've never printed this out, it's great to have it available. It tells you what items are needed for each transaction, whether it's a listing or it's a sell. It takes a second to download.
I'm gonna click it.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So this is the check list for residential, condo, multifamily, or multifamily sale. So it tells you by each one, sales reports always required, copy of the earnest money check required. So it tells you if it's required or if it's applicable or not. And it'll also tell you if selected on AREC, this is required. So it kind of tells you a little bit of like this one, if it's an FHA loan, this is required. So it kind of tells you when it applies, if it's going to be required or not required. So it kind of helps you see what you need for a transaction. And then here is the checklist for a listing. So when you write a contract, you want to make sure that you have all of the items that says required, that you make sure the buyer signs and or you make sure the seller signs for the listing if it says required beside it. That way, you know, you're going to have all the required documents that you need for your transaction. You're not going to be missing a form. So this is here to help you not miss anything. Oh no. I don't know why this thing does this. Trust me.
Gene, on that listing that had down at the bottom COVID-19,
Yeah, we should take that out. I think we're kind of,
well, I haven't seen it. Mine. So maybe,
I'm still getting over, every now and then someone's got in their listing docs, I'm
I always
sort of
put it-
ignoring it lately.
I didn't put it in because it's.
yeah, it is. I mean, you can do it if you want. You don't have to do it if you want. We're not making it a required form. So the COVID-19 disclosure one that you're talking about.
Yeah, but on the listing section, it's where it have it, I think, in the listing part. And I'm not sure that I've seen that, maybe I.
If applicable, you should have. You're not sure you ever seen the form?
No,
Oh,
that's listed.
I
9
see.
and 10 on the,
I can't.
part of this.
Zoom does not cooperate with documents for some reason.
So I've been putting it in documents.
Oh, I see. Well, you mean on the checklist. You haven't seen it on the checklist. I see. what you're-
So when you go, yes, when
Yeah.
you go to put in the listing,
Yeah,
I don't see it down at the bottom.
I think we took it out because we're not requiring it anymore. Not many people are doing it and we didn't want to confuse people, so we just took it out. But you can put it in the documents. It's totally fine. But we had it in there to start with when COVID was really bad and the state was requiring it and all that, but they're not requiring it anymore. So putting it in documents, if you're having it signed because your clients feel better having it signed, that's totally fine.
So there's a lot of things that I have to put in documents because it's not listed there. And then Cheryl told me that she never really looks at that section.
Well, but if
Because it's not
something that's
required.
in there, like the square foot disclosure, the title 21,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
I just put it in anyway, and I just label them, but they're in there, so.
The one box.
Yeah, and you can do that, or you could just leave it in the documents tab and not put it in the actual checklist, because we can still get to it.
Oh.
So you don't have to label it on there if you don't want to. Because everyone reviewing your files, like the broker and me and Cheryl and we can see your documents that you have under documents as well. We can see the checklist items and the documents items.
But you're really concerned only with the checklist items.
On the most part, those are the required items, yeah. The other ones, it's good to have. I mean, like, there's a lot of things you want to put in there sometimes, so, like, for instance, if someone decides not to do a home inspection and they buy it sight unseen, we don't have it as a requirement to put a sight unseen form in our checklist. But you want to CYA yourself by having that form signed and have it in the documents in case there's ever a problem.
Well, there is the inspection waiver though on the checklist.
Yes, inspection waiver. Mhm. Yeah. But not sight unseen. So if someone's buying a sight unseen property, we always want, you know, to make sure that that form is signed just to cover you. But it's not a requirement. So it can just stay in the documents, but it doesn't mean you don't want to not have it signed because it's not in the checklist. It just depends on what your transaction is. And it's hard to, like, there's no way to tell every single item, you know, every single transaction, what's going to come up. But a lot of you guys, you know, you talk to us about, okay, well, I have this transaction going on. What should I have in place to protect myself? And so we tell you what those are and you want them in the documents at least, but you don't have to insert them. Did I answer your question? Yeah. Okay. All right, so we go back here to Skyslope. And so we have a bunch of the forms in here. If you go under so if you go under the Anchorage tab, you have buyer forms, seller condo forms, land forms, income forms, all of that. So if you go under buyer residential forms, we have a lot of the forms that are in here. And the nice thing about choosing from here, if you choose from here, you can click this button and then you're able to send it straight via DigiSign if you want, or you can assign it to a specific transaction. So you can do it here instead of going into Flex and downloading and saving and then putting it in. Now if it's one of those forms that you just need the signature and date on, it's not a fillable form. These aren't fillable, but most of these forms are just needing a signature and a date, which you could do in DigiSign. So sometimes it's easier just to do it from here than it is to go into Flex and do it. So that's an option too. If you have just like one-off forms that you want to do, when you do your whole packet, you want to do your whole packet in Flex and send it over. But if you're just doing like one or two forms, this is the way to do it without having to go into Flex and do it that way. Any questions about that? And there are a few forms in here that aren't in Flex that we have like in our forms drawer that are only available. I think the seller's commission form is not in Flex, but for sale by owner commission form, I don't think it's in Flex, but it's in here. So we have a couple of those that if you're not here in the office, you can get it here without having to come to the office and get it out of the form store. Try to make those things convenient as possible. There's a few extras like communication log, closing cost, who pays for what, that type of thing. But here it's all kind of labeled here for you to kind of go through. So this is something that's kind of helpful to have and know that it's here. So one more thing I want to kind of go over that some of you may or may not know is there's a section here for support. So if you have an issue with Skyslope, something's not, one other thing I'll tell you. It's very important that you pull up Skyslope in Chrome. It is not happy in Safari, Explorer, or Firefox. So if you're using anything other than Chrome when you pull Skyslope up, you might have glitchy, weird things happen. It literally looks like it's working, but there's things that won't work. And it's frustrating because you're going, well, I know I downloaded this and it's not working. KV Core is the same way.
So
You-
you had that issue.
I think
Feel
so.
like there's-
Mhm.
That's what I had
Yep.
that issue. As soon as I switched over to Chrome, this works now fine, and then KV Core works fine.
Yep. For some reason, a lot of the platforms do not like the others. They like Chrome. So you wanna, if you're in here, things are frustrating and it's like something's not working correctly, before you do anything else or call support, make sure you're using Chrome. If you're using Chrome, then contact support. I see a question. Oh, can't see the check. Oh, I'm sorry, Wendy. You just click, it was just I think, I know you've seen it before, we have it in Bootcamp, but the checklist was the one from, Microsoft Word. Just speak up if I don't, see your chat right away, okay? And tell me that you're missing something. Skyslope support, they do have training on your time training. So you can click here and you can choose like all the different trainings that they have. So each week, the customer service team has training sessions to review basic functions and processes of Skyslope. You can click here for the training schedule. It tells you this is what the training is going to help you do. And you can do a selling side, you can do a buying side. They are Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Pacific time. 10 to 3 is what time the classes are scheduled. So you can always go in here if you want a refresher. You can do a training schedule on automated home warranty wiring, all kinds of different things. Now, I will say some of these things are not integrated here in Alaska, some are. We've been trying to get our forms integrated into Skyslope for a long time. Still working on that. Bev is working on that as well. So it's not anything on our end, it's on Skyslope's end. So hopefully that gets resolved soon and we are able to have all the forms integrated with MLS so they auto-populate all the information in them, which will be very nice. So hopefully that will be soon. So you can always look through here and take additional training. So I would suggest you kind of try that, look at that and see if there's certain things that you will like. They also have just training videos if you want to do those. So like you haven't done a transaction yet and you're about to, then you can go there. If you have an assistant and you're looking for some admin training, you can click on the Skyslope Admin Academy and it'll give you some videos on how they do different things there. So I wanted to kind of go over that with you and let you know that that is there as well. So let's take a 10-minute break and then we're going to come back. When we come back, we're going to do like show you how to upload a file. We're going to show you how to use DigiSign and the different things. We're going to show you how to make a template. So if you have a purchase and sell agreement that has, 2 buyers, 2 sellers, we can set up a template for the signing on all the little blanks that need to go for a buyer and a seller and a licensee. And then you can just use that template each time and you don't have to reset up all the little signing places every time you do the document.
Am I missing something, but when you go to put in if there are 2 selling licensees as an example, there's not a place to add accepted notes who the second licensee is. It doesn't
bottom, it doesn't let do it.
It doesn't for buyers or sellers, but it
doesn't.
doesn't allow additional licensee.
Yes, I know. I don't know why that, it's really frustrating. I put them in as other. That's what I do. Instead of listing, I just put them in as other so they can go sign everything. Because it'll allow you to do that. For DigiSign?
No, I'm talking about when you upload your transaction.
You're saying.
And then ask.
Oh,
who
yeah.
The other licensee is. Whether there's no place to add a second licensee.
Second, if you're the listing licensee, a second selling licensee.
Yes, or the ops, or the, if you go the other way, who you're working with, if there are two, you have to put the second one in notes.
No, you can add it on the first, Cause I
Pretty
ask
sure.
Otis all the time, so on the first page where it says listing, like when you're setting it up.
I'm not talking about setting it up as a listing as myself. I'm talking about when you go to your listing cell and there are
Oh.
double selling licensees.
It doesn't transfer over, cause if you put it in here initially, it doesn't transfer over.
Well, you don't know it's gonna be two selling licensees when you turn your listing
I'm
into
not
a
talking about
transaction.
you transferring over, I'm talking about if there are two selling licensees that sold your listing. There are,
Oh, I
there
thought you
is
were talking
no,
about this.
I have not seen a bot do that.
This is setting up the listing.
Mhm.
I'm not talking about that.
I know what you're talking about. I'm gonna, we'll do one. I'll see if I can figure it out.
Right here. code
So I always have to
Yeah.
put
Oh,
in
yeah.
notes what
Yeah.
the numbers.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's take a 10-minute break and let's come back at 11 o'clock and then we'll do that our last hour.
Great, okay, thank you. Are they fresh blueberries?
Yes,
Did you just pick them?
So I bought that cost.
Well, they're sweeter, if you buy the
Here,
ones,
let's-
it's thicker ones, they're so hard.
Yeah,
My mom used to, roll in powder to put it on. Just lightly before to make them right, pancakes and
Yeah.
everything, and it was.
not to stick and then they're not so sour.
We try to start here. So the fresh blueberries are tart.
No, oh, yeah, yeah, she was saying like if you pick up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're tart, they're smaller and they're generally pretty tart, so. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't normally, I always say I'm gonna pick them, but then I never actually do, and then. The season passes and I'm like, okay, next year, but. There's a lot of people that are very serious about picking their muffins, so. Or not muffins. picking
Well,
the
blueberries are so high in antioxidant, I love them in my smoothies,
I
but
smoothie all the time too. I usually buy the wines. Have you ever heard of that brand? They're wild blueberries is what I'm trying to say. They're tiny and they're frozen. I buy them like in the frozen section, but they're really good. And they're supposed to be really high in antioxidants too, because they're wild. So I guess you can go pick some here and then you have wild blueberries too. But yeah, I like my smoothies too.
thank you, that was delicious.
You're very welcome.
So how long are the blueberries in season or is it over?
You know, I don't actually know that. It's probably, like getting over. I don't know, maybe it's probably good picking still, if you can find them, you gotta find them to where somebody else hasn't already picked them. And then you gotta watch for bears. I saw a bear yesterday at the Kincaid. And do you know where Kincaid Park is? No, it's kind of out by the airport. It's up at the end of Raspberry Road. It's,
Okay.
I don't know, like. I think 100 acres. I don't even know how, I always forget, but I go up there all the time with my dog. And I was just in the stadium, you know where the stadium is, Tony?
Which one?
At Kincaid. I saw a black bear up there yesterday, like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like from here to the corner of the room, I didn't even know it was there, cause like. It was kind of coming up the hill and I was kind of going over, and I saw these two ladies down in the stadium, like. And the stadium is all grass and dirt, it's just called the stadium, because that's where all the
Yeah.
skiers and cross-country vendors meet. But I saw them kind of like duck behind bushes, and they had an off-leash dog, so I was kind of just trying to avoid them, because my dog acts stupid sometimes, so. I was kind of walking around, I was like, what are they ducking like in the bushes for, like, are they playing like games or what's going on? And I didn't see the bear yet, and all of a sudden, like, I'm like looking at them, trying to figure out what they're doing, and then I see like the black, like, it was like lush and shiny and just like high tail. I think we scared it honestly down the hill, so I'm like, okay, thank you, God. But I talked to them afterwards, I found them somewhere else, and they said they had airborne and they were gonna blow it, but they didn't wanna like blow the bear to me, so I'm like, okay, thank you. But it went back down the hill exactly where they were hiding behind this little thing and followed like the trail that they had gone. But I know they're out there, because I see the poop from time
They're all
to
over the
time,
place.
but I've never actually seen one before, but I was like, okay.
Do you carry-
I
When you're,
carry bear spray.
Bear spray is like. You don't wanna be that guy carrying around a 44 Magnum and, you know, in a skate park, there's just so many people. If you want to just scare the bear, there's I would say a good 75% chance that you shoot somebody, like a person. And especially with a high caliber in Kincaid, there's just too many people. Bear spray is probably the best way. Yeah, I always have bear spray with me out there, and we were just there. Not last night, but the night before. And yeah, there was just bear poop everywhere.
Yes,
And you can tell that they've been getting into berries because it's
right.
like that purple kind of hue.
Well, and you can see just all the seeds and
All the
stuff
seeds.
in it too.
our goal next year is to go up in the interior.
Yeah.
And get one that's been eating blueberries
Yeah.
before they hibernate.
Super good. Yeah.
So I've heard their meat is amazing.
Oh yeah, especially in the blue. When I used to fight wildland fires, we had a bear that got into camp and it just been eating berries, and I was part of a hot shot crew, and so we don't have. If there's smoke jumpers involved, then the smoke jumpers have higher authority than we do. And so the smoke jumpers had called in and talked about this bear, because it was eating all of our MREs, and like we were getting fresh food, like hella drops. And it was coming and eating all of our fresh food and all of our MREs. And it was like a 2-week tour, we needed that food, and so. The jumpers called it in, and I remember one night we got back. And the fire was probably like, it was like a 5-mile hike. We were positioned a little bit further down, and so we'd hike up to it and fight it all day long and then hike back down. And I remember one night it started raining and we came back and all of us were just exhausted after 2 weeks. We're just exhausted, and we finally get back to camp. And I remember we're starting to like put down gear and start getting the fire going and trying to get some rest. And all of a sudden I remember seeing like all of us on radios, right? And I remember hearing the radio chat and like it's back, we got okay, it's back. And all of a sudden you see this monster black bear like run in between, like we're all kind of positioned, every Oshawa group is positioned to each other. You see this monster black bear running down, and then one of the jumpers who had just like got back to camp, he basically just had pants on, like he was in his skivvies, and he's running after this thing with a gun, just like bare, like just his skivvy, long johns, like he had boots on that were tied, and he's running after this bear with his gun. And then 20 minutes later, you hear the shots, and then the radio chatter is like, we got it. We're gonna have fresh bear meat for a little bit. And so yeah, the next day they butchered it up, and each shop group got basically like a primal of it, and it tasted like blueberry pork chops. It was awesome. It was just like blueberry infused pork chops. It was amazing.
See, I harvested one in June. But it was up in the mountains that moves past before it come down for the fish, and it's delicious. I mean, I got hamburger, I got sausage, I've got, now the chorizo, I've only tried it once and I didn't like it. But I don't think it's the bear, I think it's the chorizo seasoning that they made it with.
I think for the chorizo, I had chorizo, but it was with a grizzly, and they did the chorizo because it had been eating fish. And so it just tasted by itself. If you ate it by itself, it was just gonna taste like fishy pork. And so they did a chorizo on it and it was pretty good. It still was like the black bear real tasty. Like I remember that black bear. It was so tasty. But the grizzly that I ate was just, it was just like kind of gamey, fishy, and then the chorizo on top of it. So Gina, I do want to say that
So people.
now I know about the MLS or the Skyslope and creating a list because I didn't do that. I didn't know, so I'm putting everything in. Don't worry, it doesn't record until next week. I'm doing it now, like everything's gonna be fine. I don't want Gabe to yell at me, he's very intimidating and I just don't want to see that Harley Davidson walking up. Every time I go to his office and he like gives me the look out of his peripherals, he's like, come me sit down, and I'm like, I don't want to. He's like, what? I was like, because you scared me. I don't.
He really wants to help, so.
He really
Keep that in.
But he's scared of
But you
the
have to do what you're supposed to do also, or he won't be happy.
Yeah, unhappy Gabe is not a good picture.
So I've never seen him angry. I
Hmm.
don't know, maybe he gets that way, but I haven't seen him.
Oh, he does. Yeah, he does.
So
He's human.
for this part in the listing documentation, the MLS private printout.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just the listing.
Yeah,
right? That's just.
That's your
my listing.
MLS, your MLS.
But you have to go to make it
You have to,
private and not the public printout.
yeah, you just have to print, yeah. So it shows the listing and selling licensee.
So
That's
should can I just email that or just print it and just have it on my desktop and just transfer?
You have to do it that way, because if you try to email from Flex, it is a link, and the links will not go into Skyslope.
Let's do a print out. And then you want to do a private, is that what I heard?
Yep. Okay, of course, I don't have a contract on here. But I'll just figure something out. Okay. Oops, who's that? Oh, that's. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get back started because it's 11 o'clock. Okay, so what do you guys want to do first? Do we show you how to do a DigiSign or do we show you how to create a transaction?
Well, I'm creating transaction now, you can do that. I'll just walk
Okay.
through it.
So we're gonna create a listing and then we're gonna turn that listing into a transaction. That way you can kind of see how that works. So if you are going to create a listing, you pick here, create listing. And see, you have a file assistant right off the bat. How nice is that? You say enter listing. And you're gonna put address lookup. So. And you go, let's go. And then it's going to say, okay, what is this? Is this a lot or is it a new listing as in a residential listing? So this is not a lot. So you say new listing, next question. How much is the property? We'll say $500,000. Next question. How much is the commission? We'll say 3% and 3%. And then here's where you would add co-listing agents. If there were co-listing agents that you're listing with, you would click that button and do that. You go next question. When was it listed? We'll say it's listed today. When does it expire? We'll say. We'll say February 28th. We'll do like a 6-month listing. Next question. What year was it built? Why do you think they ask you what year it's built? Exactly. So it's built in 2002. What's the source of the deal? And you can do the drop down menu here. So was this a prospect, advertisement, referral, previous customer? Let's say previous customer. Who's selling the property? So we're gonna say the name of the owner, we're gonna say B. And then they'll give you the little thingamajiggy there, give you the summary, says all this look correct, is this the right address, the listing amount, the listing date, the expiration date, the commission on both sides, the name of the seller, year it was built, and where you found the customer.
And you could have added another seller in there, there's a place to add another seller.
Yep. And you say, create my listing. And then it's gonna automatically give you your checklist. So as you see here, everything in red is what's required. Now, it doesn't mean you couldn't put any of the other ones in, but it's gonna automatically, based on the information you put in, show you the minimal required documents. So if you, it's like if you ended up on your listing contract and you said, I'm gonna do neutral on your listing, you had them sign a waiver and an AREC, then of course, you're gonna need to attach the waiver, right? So when they review your documents, they look at your listing agreement. If the listing agreement says waiver executed, where it says that you've signed, that the seller has signed and has done an AREC for representation and has executed a waiver right to be represented, WTR, right? Waiver to be,
WTTR.
yeah, WTBR, where it says that in your listing agreement. If you have your book, you can go back to the listing documents, but it says that there. So if you click the button saying that they signed a waiver, we're going to be looking to find the waiver in your documents. And if it's not in there, we're going to change that to be a required field instead of if applicable field. So, sometimes when you put a transaction in Skyslope and you only put in the red ones and you don't think about, oh, were there other ones that were required for this transaction? Because like maybe you had them sign the waiver, but you don't think about it. And so then you didn't put the waiver in, and then you go back to your checklist, or you get a email from Cheryl saying, we reviewed your checklist and you need, now this is a required field that needs to be turned in. So that's why that happens, because we review your documents and we say, oh, is there something else that should be required in this checklist based on your transaction? That makes sense? Okay, so I am going to, so when you attach a file, you can do it a couple of ways. You can click attach, like I just did. You can hit upload document, and you can find a specific the actual document that you need. Oh, let's see. I'm trying to find a small document.
Here's a question, if we're creating a listing and we have all of these side things that are in our Skyslope, do we have to save it to our computer and then bring it back?
No.
forward, or okay.
No, I'm going to show you. Just trying to find something small. Okay. Okay, so once you put the document in, it's going to say in review. So you can put documents in one by hitting attach, like we just said. The other thing you can do is, you see you have an email address for your contract right there, right here.
Yeah.
This is for this contract. So you can take this email address. Oh, shoot, sorry. No, that's not what I want to do. I'm so used to working on a Mac all day long, and then I come in here with this thing. Screws me up every
I'm
time.
trying to tell you what to do.
Okay, so you go there, you copy your email link, and then you're going to go to your email. So say you got your email, so you got the contract, It was signed by the other side. They emailed you the contract, okay? So.
Instead of what I do now, go scan it, PDF.
You don't have to do that.
Put it on my
Do
computer.
not have to do that.
Oh my God.
I'll have to do that.
So how often do y'all go and review them?
Well, she's in there every single day
Like,
looking
she's
at
like-
them.
She's like on it immediately and happy.
I didn't even know about this checklist, so right now I have a required property disclosure. And I thought I had one in, but I'm wondering if it's the old one.
Probably.
Yeah.
Would they gone in?
Yep.
Yeah, and she'll tell you that you need the updated one,
Okay,
Yeah, did she leave you a list? Because usually she'll leave you a
a
note
little note.
and it'll say,
I
and
don't see a note, I did see required,
let me see. Maybe you didn't put it in at all.
maybe not, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it just says required. So you could just go to the top. You could go into your documents and see if you see it, and maybe you just didn't attach it.
I've got to get the new updated one, I gave it to him,
Oh.
he hasn't returned it yet, so I've got to.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna just look for something here. Okay. So I'm going to pretend this isn't a contract, but I'm gonna pretend like this is a contract, okay? So pretend like this is my whole contract. And I'm going to email it into Skyslope. Everyone paying attention?
Mhm.
Okay. So my contract, my PDF is attached to this email. And I'm gonna send it in, and this is the one that it has the whole fully executed contract, okay? So I'm gonna say forward. And then I'm putting in the email address for the property, right? That I just got off of Skyslope. And I'm literally gonna hit send.
Oh my God, you're saving me like hours. Fun.
You guys keep doing.
That's a piece of
Can I
them.
interrupt for a
Don't
second?
like to. do
Yeah.
it.
So I was just at Barnes and Noble. I bought an extra. If anybody wants to buy it off me for $24.
Oh,
And also, if you ever have any questions with this, me as well.
Yes, I thought you were gonna interject for that.
yeah, that's a great book.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. So I just sent it over to Skyslope, so we're gonna go back into Skyslope to our contract here. And we're gonna go, so when you email the document in, where do you think it's gonna go?
Probably a working document.
No,
No,
because remember where it's a specific,
It'll go straight to the transaction that you're working on.
yes. So it's in the transaction we're working in because we use that email address. So where would I go to find them? Where do you think I'd go to find them? Yes, documents. You go to documents to find the documents. I'm gonna see if I can make this a little big. Not that big. This thing's so touchy. Come on. Okay, whatever. Okay, so I'll go into documents. And it does sometimes take a second for it to load. This one loaded right away because there it is right on top. See where it says Gina Burke, Rocky Bay, quote, that's actually what I put in there. Now, if you just want to see what the document is, you don't have to click on the link. You can just hover over the eyeball and it will pop up a preview for you. And you can see what it is. Okay. Here you go. Yep, that's the one. So we're good to go.
Would
And
it still also work, like, let's say you were just sending it not to the specific property, just to your Skyslope email, would it be the same thing, or you would check your working documents and then upload it that way as well?
absolutely. Yep. So did you hear what Nomi's saying? Okay. So but if you already have a transaction, you always want to use this email address because it keeps you from like doing all these extra steps you don't need to do. So you go in.
I've done from them.
So like, if you're not in like a transaction yet.
Yeah, you're not in-
a free period, the AREX or whatever. that-
Correct. If you're not in a transaction, you don't have a started transaction in Skyslope where you created a listing or you created a transaction, then you're going to be going into working documents for these documents. But when you already have a transaction like we do right here, it's going to go into the documents here. So say this is our purchase and sell agreement, okay? We click on this, and then we're going to split up the documents into the checklist. So you click split. So this, we're saying this is like a few documents, right? It's only one page. Oh, shit. Okay, let's see.
You have
Okay.
2 pages.
Do I have 2 pages?
Oh, that's cool. It'll split it up for you. Oh, that's.
I
This is probably literally my favorite part of.
I know, it's mine too.
Yeah, so
I had this
So-
because I got like a bill of sale and then like is it like everything was at once, and I was like, I don't know how to split. It was perfect.
Yeah, so that's all you do is you just hit split and it'll split it.
You know, tell me the thing I have retained that.
So you go here and say, the first item that we have here, say this is the purchase and sale agreement. We're gonna say PUR and wait a second. Oh, I'm sorry, we're in a listing, I forgot. So we're gonna do listing.
I think it's MLS is what it starts with.
Yeah.
Like
Listing contract.
Exclusive right to sell. So MLS exclusive right to sell agreement, that's the first document for our listing. So we'll say, okay, this is page 1, okay? And then we're gonna say page 2 is our AREC. So you click AREC is page 2 of 2, and we're gonna say split and assign. Nice job. Go to your checklist. We go to our checklist. And now we've got those items put in our checklist.
And also, if you have things in there that aren't in your checklist,
Yep.
you can name them and then they just go into your documents.
Correct, but they're labeled now.
Right.
I'm gonna see if I can find another.
And then when I do that, I go back to my documents and I delete the original. Whatever I dragged or emailed in, just so that I like everything to have a name.
Clean.
And to, when I look at it, I like to know exactly what it is, so I delete the original email because I already broke it down and renamed each
Right.
piece of it.
So that's what she's talking about. She just takes these out. The other thing, these are like all photos too. So this was the original one right here. So what Christy does is she takes this one right here and she clicks here. And then she goes up to the top.
It's under move.
Move to trash, right? Move to trash, and then it goes away. And she takes it out to get it away. And then this is the other thing. So like sometimes you have like when you forward a document in, like if someone has their photo or logo in the email, it'll drop that in documents too. And maybe you don't necessarily want those things in here, so you can go in and delete those out too. So it's easy to delete things you want. You also, it's really easy to rename them as well. So you would just go here, you would hit rename.
And also, if you delete it, it goes to the trash, but it also stays there, so you can.
Correct,
access
right
it
here is
if
the
you
trash.
want to.
Yeah. So you could open up the trash and see what's in here if you need to. And then if you go right here, you want to change it, then you just go here and you say AREC for seller, which this one is, say, actually, this isn't the AREC for the seller, this is the bid for carpet. And then you hit save, and now you've changed the name.
So Gina, real fast, so I just moved an exclusive right to sell in my documents, that's under my listing, but I need to assign it to the actual thing, the checklist. How do I get it from my documents to that first box? Now that it's in documents, how do I just put, like, when I go back to?
You can do it a couple different ways, like you can go, let's do this. Let's go back to our checklist. And you can say, you can go under attach.
Okay.
And then it should show you only the ones that have not already been assigned. And it should be there. If it's not already been assigned.
Oh, it is there, hey.
Yep.
Alright, cool, and then you
So
just
you hit assign, and then it's automatically gonna go in.
Perfect. That's
Okay.
awesome.
And then
There is a quicker.
Then that took me 2 seconds.
Yeah. If
There's a
you-
1 second
If
delay.
you open checklist, you can drag it from your file into the checklist.
But it was in documents, in his
Yeah.
documents in.
He said he
Skyslope.
uploaded it in documents, though. He doesn't have.
Oh,
he doesn't have-
yeah, you can do that.
Move it over,
We'll
cool.
move it over.
Yeah, so let me. That. Cancel. So if you have a document. And you guys may have to like help me with this because. my PCs. So say.
Get
So if we move this over here and say.
You want to be in documents.
You don't have to be, you can be right here.
I mean,
So-
the checklist tab, yeah,
No, huh?
yeah, right there.
Yeah,
Then you gotta find your documents
I
on your
know.
hard drive. Forever.
well, you can find it on your desktop too, if you
It's
can.
way easier on a Mac.
I know, I hate that.
I can put my download and drag.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the download down below.
Just open a little file over at the bottom, and it'll bring open all your files.
Right, but I'm just gonna say, it's on my desktop here. I'm gonna pull it off my desktop and I'm gonna put it right here in the
You
thing.
can move it.
So you can take it right over like this and you can go boom. Right in here. It went in there, but that's okay.
It might move up. It's kind of weird and glitchy sometimes. And I realize I'm using Safari.
You
Maybe
didn't,
that's
you,
why.
it didn't drop there. Or
Yeah.
apparently it's, there it goes.
I think it's thinking.
Mhm.
So we're gonna take, it's a big piece, I think. So we're gonna take this one and we're gonna add it into here. It'll let me. Move. Okay. I'm gonna do this one more time just because it's like. Okay, let's see here. All right, let me see if I can move this thing over here a little bit, go back to
Get
my
it?
transaction, lost everything here. So something happened, I lost it, so I'm gonna show you what happens here. So I started, I went in and I created the listing, right? And then it's like I'm halfway through and then something just happened. Well, you don't go back in to create listing again, right? Where would you go?
Right, pending. Active or pending.
Yes, or where would you go down here?
Manage this.
Yes, manage. So after you only put it in once, and after that, you always go back to manage. And then here it is. So you click on it. And then you're gonna go back to checklist. And then I'm gonna try to get rid of this thing out of my way. And then I'm gonna pull in this for here. Now it's going.
Yeah, now I don't.
So there we go. So you can drag in, you can attach by what we showed you, attach and go into your documents. You can also, if you're a Mac, you download it and you just drag it in. Or you can go to your file. So we're just gonna but put this one in. So once you have everything that is, everything in here, watch what happens up here. So now,
I think you have to have it all reviewed before you can hit accept contract.
I don't think you had to have
No, I
it
don't think you have
reviewed.
to. It's
I think
missing-
it's just,
It's
make it
missing
a-
something.
no, everything's in here. Let me just refresh it real quick.
Missing a piece of data. It's not the documents. Is it live?
What do you mean?
Listing, yeah, in there. So where are the little red buttons that say you need this piece of data?
Mm-mm. Everything's in there. I really think it's a Zoom problem. See, this is where you would put the extra seller in. You know, if you had more than one seller, you put the first one in, and then you would say new seller, and you would add in the second seller. But we're gonna pretend we only have one.
See, now you
Oh, here we go.
submitted
I
it,
think it
now
is,
you're good.
yeah, I think it's just, I
I
don't know, it's
think you had to
glitchy.
hit the submit button.
All right, so so now you can hit accepted contract. And once you hit accepted contract, then you can turn this into, this is when you've sold it, you get an accepted contract. So this is where you go to all the things on the left, you have to fill everything out. So you have to say, okay, what the sales price is, say we sold it for 510,000. Offers, previous customer, office deal, no. Accepted date. Well, it'll have to be today.
Gotta be today.
Gotta be today. All that's the same. And then checklist type. This is really important. If you choose the wrong checklist, you get the wrong checklist. And when you get the wrong checklist, it asks you to put in the wrong documents, and then you're not going to be in compliance. So read this carefully and know what you're doing.
You're asking those.
Yeah. If you are dealing with a condo, choose a condo checklist. If you are dealing, cooling it down, a lot, then you're going to choose lot. If you're multifamily, new construction. Residential is just residential house, okay? So whatever is listed in MLS, whether it's listed as a condo, multifamily, residential, that's the checklist you're gonna choose. So don't mess that up. Otherwise, you're canceling it and you're starting all over again. So we hit residential because we know that's what we have here. And you just have to fill out everything that has a red asterisk, or it will not go further.
MLS one.
Huh?
On the left, you need the MLS.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Doesn't matter if it's right. It can be anything.
Well, we're pretending today. Okay. And then the only thing we have left is when the closing date's gonna be. So we're gonna listen to what Elieska says, and we're gonna say, all right, we're gonna close this baby in 30 days. And then the MLS status is, say, pending. And then we hit next. So here is where we put all the additional information in. So we still, our seller information automatically populates. That doesn't change. It is asking for a phone number, so we can edit that and put it in. Let's see. So you hit edit. And 7. You hit save. And if you want to put forwarding information in here, you can, but you don't have to. And then you're going to go to purchaser. So you're gonna put in the buyer's first and last name. And notice it doesn't ask for the email, phone number for the buyer because you're on the listing site. You're not gonna know that information, right? So then you hit save. And you notice each time you hit save, you get a little check mark there. You get a little check mark there because you've filled in all the additional information. Title, escrow, attorney. Now, some people get confused with this section here. So we have a title company we're gonna fill out. If you were to scroll further down, you're gonna see escrow, you're gonna see right down here. Well, I think it's the second section, so we'll go to here.
It said attorney down there at the bottom.
At the bottom, yeah, okay. So closing officer's first name, we're gonna say,
So what about show people how you have them in your contract?
oh, yeah.
Populate it.
So let me pull up here. So if you have them in your directory, they're gonna automatically populate when you start to type them in. So if you use the same one a lot, so like we'll say Christy,
CR.
oh yeah, you see it? No,
No,
Well, you
but
got
you-
Christie
you have
Nugent, but you
C.
got an H in it and it's down lower. All the way down.
CR?
You have it up there, but yeah, it's CR.
It
You've
is
got
CR.
an H in it down below. You
Oh,
see
okay,
4 up from the bottom, you've got it.
there it is. Okay, I
It's
spelled her
just
name wrong. Okay. So you do that and all of her stuff just automatically populates. So it's really nice. You have to go look up her phone number, you have to look out, her email address, it all just kind of goes in there. So you have that and you hit save. You don't need to go beyond and fill out the other stuff. That's all you need is that one.
But you have to have that person listed in your contacts or?
No, you
search
could
the
just,
Company.
no,
You can add it.
you can add it or you could just like put it in one by one. So you could put first name, last name.
But it won't search a company directory. It's only gonna search what you.
It's not a company directory. It's, remember I showed you earlier,
What
when
you used before.
remember earlier when I showed you, when you go to your account, you hit the directory, all the people that were in there? It came from that. So anytime you put them into Skyslope, it automatically goes into your directory. So, but you can also upload, 10 different closers that you typically would use in here. And then it's there when you decide when you write up a contract. So however you want to do it. But if you've never used them before, you're gonna have to hand type them in if they're not already in your directory.
Sure.
And then agent on the other side. So this is what Sherry was talking about. It only allows you to put in one licensee on the other side. So we say, look at you right on top. So I'm doing this deal with Christy. And it automatically puts all of her information in here. So then I don't have to do anything more. We're all good to go.
Phone number. If they're gonna go.
Oh, yeah. But what Sherry was talking about is if there's an additional licensee, she has to put them here in the notes and say licensee number 2 is whoever with their email address and phone number. So that's kind of how she does that. So you hit save. And once you have saved, you've got everything else. Now, if you want to put the lender in, I suggest you put the lender in because it's really convenient to send them documents that, once you've signed everything, you can just put them in as an additional person. If you have them in here in your contacts, it'll auto-populate in DigiSign with your contacts, which is really nice. So we're going to go down here for lender, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say, Kara. So she automatically goes in. You're not required for a phone number for them. And if you already have a home warranty set up, you could do that. Now, if you have other people, see, this is what I usually do under miscellaneous contact. This is where I put in the additional licensee. And that's what I was telling Sherry. I just put it here. So I would just say, I don't think it pulls up the other ones though. So I would just put their name and their email address, their company and their email address, and I would just put listing license, selling licensee number 2. So that's where I put it in there. And Sherry puts it in notes, but I like to put it here because in here, or if they have a transaction coordinator or whatever, you can put it in a miscellaneous documents. And then it's there and it populates into DigiSign. The key is it's kind of cool when it populates into DigiSign for you, so you don't have to like put all information in. So that's an option as well. And then once that's all in there, you hit save. And then you hit submit. And then we've got the price in there. No, we don't do that here.
Actually, I've never used it, but it looks like an okay function.
Yeah, where you can go in and you can email the information to the escrow officer title. So yeah, if you want to do that, you can do that. I mean, we're not going to do it here on a test, but you can definitely do that if you choose to. We don't have to worry about the earnest money deposit and that type of thing because it's not all connected to our system here.
Really?
Really, I always fill that out.
Yeah, we don't have a, and then you say submit and open escrow.
You should have just said submit.
No, that's-
Oh, I see. Yeah,
It's gonna send it to Christie.
I'll say cancel here. Just hit submit, yeah.
Why do you just hit submit?
Because this is a test and I don't have a contract to send to the title company. But if you want to send to the title company, if you have a real transaction, I would suggest that saves you a step down the line. Okay, so now we have all these required documents, for this transaction, right? So this is, this one's already done and this is here. So again, if you were, say you had this transaction and you were doing this with a licensee at Jack White. If you wanted to share this with another licensee, you could do that by adding them in as listing licensee number 2 as well. So we talked about that earlier. So if you, all this is in there, all this is good to go. And now you've got your checklist and you've got your documents. These are the documents that we put in earlier. They're all still and they're the same. Also, you can look at your log. So the log kind of shows you what has been happening in Skyslope. So it shows you, you put these in, this is the accepted date. This is when a new seller was added, new buyer was added, new title was added. So it shows exactly when you do everything in Skyslope. You can also, the other thing you can do that a lot of people don't realize is you can use your email address that you have for this transaction here. And if you have documents that you have correspondence you're making with the other licensee, you can always CC this email address, and the emails that you are having go back and forth are going to show up in your log. So it'll save them in Skyslope for you. You also can use that email address when you text people and you put it in your text, and it will send your text and save them in the log in Skyslope as well.
Really?
Yep.
So you gotta do it to that person and that address.
Yep, it's a group text.
Yeah.
So a group
Just like
text,
you're putting in a phone number. and
Correct.
You put in that number.
yep. And it'll send the text here. They're not like beautifully formatted, but they're there. It's just nice to have. Instead of having to, the other option is obviously you're taking screenshots of it and you're putting it in your, your documents, but it's a lot easier to do that, especially, you get in the habit of doing that. You can just tell people, hey, this is a group, group text, because it allows me to save our correspondence in our transaction management system. I don't care. I mean, you're saving your stuff anyway, so. But that's another thing that it will allow you to do, which is kind of nice. Also, if you go here on transaction actions here, you can download a summary of your transaction, which is kind of nice. It's just like it kind of just lays everything out for you in just a written summary. So it has, the details of the transaction, then it has the seller's information, then it has the purchaser's information. It's just a nice cover sheet to have. And just kind of tells you everything about the transaction. So a lot of people like that and like to print it, put it at the front of their file, they have it, or, just keep it handy so you've got all the information, on one sheet of paper, which is kind of nice.
So with that email address,
Mhm.
is there a way to take that Clap Road email address and attach it to showing time? So my showing time feedback goes into my transaction log?
Not that I'm aware of.
It's a good idea though.
Yeah. Yeah, Yeah.
Somebody will figure it out.
probably. So you can always print the log. You also can enter notes in. So I think that's a cool thing too. So you can take your note here, you can enter a note, you say whatever note you have, like talk to the seller. They said they agreed to drop the price by this date. And then you can set up I talk to them on the phone this time, this date, whatever you want to do. Or you can make a note, hey, they're moving out on this date. They're having carpets cleaned on this date, whatever you want to say on a note for this property. Let me just say that's something out.
And that'll show up in your summary.
It's going to be in your log.
Oh, in your log, okay.
Yeah. So then, so here it is in your log, they're moving out on 15. So if you ever wanted to print your log, you can print your log and you can just keep that. It kind of shows all your stuff. But if you have a bunch of notes in there, you can just keep them all in one spot. So you can keep your text in one spot, your email in one spot, your notes in one spot. So it can be your place for your whole transaction. And then it becomes completely 100% paperless if you choose. Also, you have a Skyslope app. Does everyone have their Skyslope app? The Skyslope app is fantastic.
Can't do any DigiSign though.
Can't do DigiSign. That's the only thing about it that I don't like is you cannot DigiSign with your app. But you can email it, you can email a form, a document, all of your contact information's on there for your transaction, your email, your phone call. You can just click the button to call your seller right off the app. You can see all your forms. You can see where you are in your checklist. You can upload documents to your checklist. You can do all kinds of things. So it's a cool app to have as well. So make sure you have that if you don't. We're going to go through DigiSign real quick. Does anyone have any questions about the transactions? And then, of course, if you're going to do a task for this transaction, you just can go right here in the transaction and start adding your task. Okay. All right, so we're going to go into DigiSign next. So DigiSign can be used, it's your tool to use. You can use it for your personal things. You can use it for your work things. You can use it for whatever you want. I would suggest if you're using it for personal things, that you're going to put those signed documents in a folder in your working documents, because then it becomes private. Otherwise,
Does it remove it though out of here to that folder, or will it still be in?
I think it takes it out. So the thing about the thing about this is you wanna, you can use it for whatever you want, I guess. It's kind of the nice thing about it. And you can move it out, but if you have it in your folders, then we can't see it. So a lot of people get confused in DigiSign. They always come into DigiSign and they want to be able to work with these completed documents. And they're like, why can't I do something with these documents that are in the completed section? Because they're your working documents. You need to work with them in your working documents. You can see if they're completed. You can look at it. You can say, okay, well, there's the completed document. But you can't really do much with it besides download it.
Download it or print it.
Right. So it just doesn't give you all the options that it gives you otherwise. But if you're in working documents, remember, and you have your form here. See, this is a DigiSign. See, this is digisign.pdf. So everything that has been DigiSigned is going to have the digisign.pdf beside it. So that way you know it has been DigiSigned. But remember, when you click this, you can DigiSign it again. If you miss something, you can assign it to a transaction, and you can also move it. So let's go back here. You can also take it here and you can move it to a folder, Gina's personal. And now it's in that folder. So let's go back into Docs and see if it's still there. Should not be. No, it's not there. That was not the top one. So you move it out of there and you put it in your personal doc folder, and then it stays in your personal doc folder and it's private for you personally. So let's go back into DigiSign and show you some little things how it works. So DigiSign, when you go into DigiSign, it's going to ask you if you're looking for to put it in a certain property or what you have. So it's going to show you, like, here's everything that you have currently in DigiSign. These are drafts that you have that you didn't finish or you didn't do anything with, which, you know, most of the time these need to be deleted and just didn't delete. So you just go in and delete them.
Because they will go all the way back to November 16th.
Yeah, just go in and delete them. These are the ones that you have sent. So the cool thing about the ones that you've sent, you say, okay, I've sent this one. When you sent it, you can take this one and you can create a template with it. So you can go in and you can say, okay, exactly when you were to create, I don't even know what this form is. Let's see, to know if it's something I'd want to create. Let's see, let's do this one. This was a test one, so let's see what it is. I think this was like a weird one, but say you have a purchase and sell agreement in here that you had signed and you had already set up all the signatures for everybody. You can call this one purchase and sell agreement, 2 buyers, 2 sellers is what I would do. If you have 2 initials and, you know, 2 different people. Because, you know, next time I have a purchase and sell agreement where I have 2 buyers and 2 sellers, I can use template purchase agreement, 2 buyer, 2 seller. And then I don't have to set up all the little
I did not know you could do that.
things.
So that's what's so great about.
So how do you apply it though?
Let me tell
I wanna
you.
see the actual.
Okay, let me
'Cause I
find
tried
one.
and I can't make the magic work.
I have no idea what this stuff is, so.
It's been a long time.
Hold that, add, should, yeah, that'll work.
We just use this one.
Yeah, that's fine. So it's
How come Bailey's the only one up there?
post office.
Oh, I think she's the only one on Zoom.
Well, there's 7 people that says on there.
Oh.
It's just because I'm the favorite.
For sure.
You're always in our face.
What can I say, Bill?
Yeah. You ought to be fishing.
So this is the owner occupant, right? Owner occupied document. Isn't that what that was? Owner
So
occupied?
post occupancy. Yeah.
I feel like this could save you a lot of time if you put in
It would.
the initial, like, that's the whole thing about all of this. If you put the correct information in up front, it all works very well.
Yeah.
OCC.
No pressure, you know.
And under description, I'm gonna say 1 buyer, 2 sellers. Okay,
You only fail on one side anyway. You don't fill in both sides generally. Unless you're doing both sides.
true. But it'll set it, true, that's true. So, will be on the listing side, obviously, if you have the I guess it could be either way. We'll just leave it. Because if you don't put the person in, then the link's not gonna show up, so
So did you create that already or you're
I'm
still
working
creating?
on it.
Shoot,
And so we have, who's to sign, seller 1, seller 2, and then a copy is gonna go to the agent on the other side. So this is for the sellers to sign, because it's a post occupancy and I'm the listing licensee, so I'm sending it out for them to sign. So this is how it's gonna be set up,
Okay.
okay? And then you're gonna say, did I say upload? Haven't done this in a while. No, cancel. I already have it. I already have it. I'm not uploading anymore. Okay, so you say new role. Oh, not gonna have a new role either. We're all set. Okay, never mind.
So you have to. go
So you
back
hit
to-
next. And then there it is. See how it's already got the sellers
wow,
signed up there, because there was a change, or it was written up that way. And then there, because I had writing in there.
So it automatically put those in there. Can you take them out if it doesn't need that?
Yeah, I mean, you could go in there right now and you can,
X that.
oh no, I guess you can't. I guess you'd have to do it as it was set up, because that's the way that one was set up. Originally, it's probably not a good example. It probably would have been better to do the one that didn't have all this extra stuff to it. But
how come it doesn't have any signature spots down the bottom?
because I already had them.
Because they're
in there.
Because they're already signed, okay.
She.
I didn't use a very good example. Should have used a better example.
So would you
So-
just take documents from the MLS, like the purchase and sale agreement, and put it in here and put all the spots, the signature spots in the right place?
Mhm.
And save it as,
Purchase
One
and
buyer,
sale
one
agreement
seller.
timer. Mhm.
okay, wow.
Yeah, that's the issue is after you now save that
And,
and then how do we go back and find it?
okay. Your template has saved. Okay, close. Alright. So when. So if we were gonna go up here,
Well, it's right there.
yeah, it's right there. So you can go here. You can click on it. Well, it's created. Let's see. And then it's just gonna, you click on it and there it is. It's gonna.
But I
sign.
want to put another document up there with it. How do I do that?
Hold on. So if I went to DigiSign. And I wanted to do a new envelope. And I had no property. And
You gotta upload something first. Upload anything, it doesn't matter where we put the initials.
I don't want a PowerPoint. I'm trying to find something small.
Yeah, you want a PDF,
Is that a PDF?
can't see.
Yes.
Choose template, okay. Test for Sky, and now it says remove them.
And then you go in and choose who your buyers
Oh.
and sellers are. Who's selling it.
Next, yeah, and then you pick them. And then they become,
So new, so you would,
well, you can go down, you can move the thing down and find somebody. On the left, you can pick your buyer and seller. Oh, you don't have it in there.
I could put them in, so.
Teresa will do it.
It could be,
Just click, Teresa's up there. See? Man,
but it's gonna ask for two
yeah,
unless
you
you
gotta,
edit
you
it.
gotta put it, another one in.
But if you didn't, you could
But
just
no-
unclick this. Any signature block assigned to this receipt will be removed. So if you ended up not having two buyers or two sellers, you could just say, okay, remove recipient, because I don't have two sellers for this. So you don't have to do two templates, you only have to do one template. You just have to
So
remove
why
it.
don't you just do one template?
Yeah, one
and add
template,
Two on both sides and you can check.
you could
all
take
of
one
them.
off. Yep, that's exactly what you'd want to do. So we'll just say she's the realtor too, just to make life easy. And then you hit next.
Yeah, is CJ coming too?
It's cool, they kind of put them, well, they kind of put them.
In the same spot. I'm trying to see what it did.
It didn't, it only put it on that.
It's
first
not on the first page, I didn't move them all over.
So you have to go through and set this up.
You have to set it up.
On the right.
Yeah, you have to
spot.
Set the
You
right.
basically have to do one as you
Yeah.
would.
Okay, here's a question, like if you get in, if you're representing the buyer and you get in a scanned copy of this, but it's not quite a good scanned copy, like are all the signature spots gonna be off? I think that probably would be the case,
Might be.
yeah,
Yeah, if you put it in crooked, it comes in,
right.
it gets
But I think
initial.
if you want to move them over a little bit. would
Yeah.
be Quicker than.
Redo
the
it all.
names and then initials and-
Yeah,
That's how OCD are.
Okay.
yeah.
I hate that.
So at least you know how to like put a template together and
Yeah.
create it. And then, you could just build one for purchase and sell, the ones you use all the
Right,
time,
or if there's
listing.
like two buyers and two sellers and like there's just way more stuff. to-
And
But that is good to know that you just set up one as you would and just put it for two, even though you
Yeah.
may not have to, just. set
Right,
the
take one
template,
out.
And then you can always just take one out. And
Yeah,
hopefully this one didn't gonna show up, but hopefully like then, because that's the hard part, is like. Going through each 13 pages of button and then put a little square up over the
Yeah.
initial part, like, that took 20 minutes.
yeah, it does take a little
Look at that.
bit of time to do that. And this would take that out, but I mean, of course, you always want to like check, but
Double, triple check.
yeah, but it keeps you from missing a spot too, if you're using the same form over and over and over. It's less missing spots if it's already set up for you. So then I think we kind of covered this. You go here and you go next. And if you don't have that and you're going to need to put in signatures, then say this is a signature block, you just click signature once and then you just tap it and you're going to get your block. If you tap it again, you get another block.
Yep.
So you don't have to keep going to the top and then back to the bottom, that kind of thing. If you get too many, you just do the little red X and get rid of it. And what I usually do is I just go through and I go, okay, well, the seller needs to sign here and here and here. And I just do all of the blocks that I need. And then I go back and do the date, put all the date in at that one person instead of, I scroll through the contract and do it instead of going, okay, here's that person, we do it. And then we do the drop down. So we have another person here. And then that's gonna be me, and so let me do that. I just do the same person and then do the whole page. That's just my style of doing it. You can do it however you want. But you don't have to keep going to the top and choosing it and going back and choosing it, going back. Once you've chosen it,
Changing.
yeah, unless you're changing. Once you've chosen it, it's there. Now, a lot of people get confused. It's like, what's read-only and writable? So read-only is a block that you want to put in here. So you want to say, okay, you want them to read it. It's like they have to kind of approve it, but you just want them to read it. You don't want them to fill it in. You've already filled it in for them. So maybe a lot of times we want to put in Jack White Real Estate because there's not a place for the broker name, right? So you can just say Jack White. And we are Jack White Real Estate, not Jack White Realty, Jack White Co. It's Jack White Real Estate. So make sure you always write that. Okay, and so that was a read only. And then you go to the next one and we're going to change this one. We'll say writable. We'll close this out. And then if you do a writable, then this is a fillable data for Gina Burke. So this will be there and it's going to come to me to fill this in. So if they need to put in their loan number, say on the one mortgage form, then you could use this one and it's going to be a blank there and they need to put in their mortgage number when they go to sign and they'll put in what their mortgage number is and then it'll be done. So that's the two difference between writable and readable, and that's why and how you would use those. Okay,
Always use the writable and put Jack White Real
So
Estate.
do I.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should use read only technically.
yeah, I would, because otherwise they can take it out. So if you
Well,
make
not
it
if
for
it's your-
yourself,
yeah, I would
they
make it for
can. If you
myself.
make it for yourself, they can't. But if you make it for them, then it's something they can just read.
The one that messes me up is checkbox.
Yeah,
Because
what
I'll
about it?
click on, I'll put it there.
It
And then
never
I'll
quite
click
goes
on
to the
it
right
and it goes
spot.
away
Yeah.
when it shows up and I go, wait a minute,
Well,
why's
you
that a
just need to
problem?
put it there and then leave it, because it's checked.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's checked already.
But it
Mhm.
never quite goes in the right spot, it's a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
sketchy.
no, you can't get them on the right line or the right spot. That's just not, you can't do that.
I think my qualm is the date and time, and I brought this up earlier, like you can do a date sign and it'll show you the date. But you can't just do a separate time and the agreements on that person's sale, there's
Well,
no time.
Just put the date on it.
Yeah,
It's because typically you need to have the date attached to the time to know what time it really is.
yeah,
Correct?
yeah, absolutely.
So that's why.
I also use the full name. Cause
Uh-huh.
all those turkeys out there don't put my name on all those other documents when I'm the agent.
All this.
Oh.
And I do that.
Mhm.
I'll, cause you can put it down there and I'll put my name down there.
Yeah.
Like what, I mean, I don't know. what-
So on the bottom of the counteroffer, for instance, licensees, they don't put my name down there.
Right,
So I put it.
so,
They don't
oh,
put
it
your
just
name down
does
on
like
it?
that,
Yeah, that's
okay.
messed
I know, it is.
And I had my first little offer and she put my name down on it.
There you go.
Some people do. But that's good to know,
It's
Mhm.
sloppiness on the other.
Yeah.
because I usually just put writable and then put the name
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah. So you could do it either way. Well, did somebody learn something new today?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. So you feel a
Might
little more,
even try to use it.
all right, perfect. Love that.
I learned that.
It's even better when you actually use it.
Yes.
So, does anyone, have any questions right off the bat does everyone feel a little bit more confident in putting in their transactions and digi-signing and all that good stuff?
Yeah.
Setting up tasks?
They did something easier with Chrome.
I got two questions.
Yeah.
Number one, when we send the document out for
Uh-huh.
DigiSign, is there a way for it to notify you when it has been signed
It does.
through an email?
It
It
does.
automatically does.
It didn't,
Oh, it did?
because I sent some out last night to get signed
It has to be fully
and,
executed. to come
Yeah.
back.
All of them have to.
okay, so I put signatures on the offer, for the backup I was doing yesterday.
Mhm.
Send it out. And I checked this morning and I didn't have any emails or anything saying that my clients had signed it.
Mhm.
So I had to go back into DigiSign and look and see that they had signed it.
At the center.
Yeah, you're gonna look
Look
here under the
there.
sent here. And it should say signed by this person waiting to sign
Okay.
and then
that.
sent. So if it says anybody here is waiting to sign, that means they didn't sign it.
Okay. I'm not being clear.
Oh.
So what I'm asking is, I sent a document to John last night to sign.
Uh-huh.
He signed it this morning, or whenever he signs it. Will it send me an email to my email saying, hey, John signed this document?
Yep, it
Because it
does.
didn't.
No,
If-
it will send it to you if everybody has signed.
Correct,
not
if it's
John has signed.
completely-
It'll say all signed. So if you were supposed to sign it too, you ain't getting it back yet.
If you didn't
get
sign
an
it.
email though that said it had been, like.
That's
sent.
probably what it was, because I had to sign one still that I had missed,
Yeah,
and so I didn't get it. Okay.
Until
because it's not
fully
completed.
executed, yeah, it won't come back.
So if you don't get it, you're like, what's missing? That's your clue to something's missing. I didn't sign or somebody didn't sign.
Go back here.
So you go back here and it'll
Okay.
tell you waiting to sign who it is. And then if you have people who are waiting to sign, they're like, well, I didn't get it. Then you can click here to edit or resend. And it's going to tell you who it is. So this person didn't get it. Do we want to resend it to them? Or maybe you need to make a correction to their email address because you
Okay.
didn't have it right. And here's where you can do that. You can just, change it right here and then you click resend and it's going to go to them.
But then that won't change their email in the whole system.
No,
You gotta go back into the system and correct their
Correct.
email.
yeah, you'll need to
That's
change
just
it.
do it for this one email.
Correct.
Okay.
And so you'll need to go back to the contact page and change their email in there. So it'll be correct the rest of the time.
Can we go in and do an entire transaction in here under a test?
Yes,
And then even when y'all say, it's a test?
I don't see that. We don't pay any attention to that for DigiSign.
Okay.
Oh, you mean like put in a transaction and all that?
It's like,
Yeah,
do a whole transaction.
yeah, you can do that. Just say test, like just say the name of the buyer or seller or whatever is test. Lanny test, Lanny test, something so Cheryl knows it's a test.
Okay.
And that'll be fine. And just have a fake email address, a fake, everything, and then she'll be like, okay, they're just messing with the system. And then when you're done, cancel the transaction, like get it out of there so it's not laying in there.
Okay.
So like I'll have to go in, I need to go in and take out the transaction that I just started so she doesn't review it later. I usually do because I put in there John Doe.
That's her cue.
And she knows that okay, John Doe, Gina is just messing with the system. And because she knows I do a lot of training, so it's not an issue. But any other questions anyone has? Great questions. No, everyone's efficient.
That's good stuff, great.
I'm glad you liked it. Okay, I am going to stop
Yeah.
recording.
Do we have MLS documents in here that we can fill out yet?
We're still working on that.
Okay, I thought so.
Recording.